Hi, this video is about Isaac Newton's theory of gravity. Now, to understand gravity, let's think about a situation where gravity acts. Let's say that you throw a ball, and let's set a ground rule here. You throw a ball straight, horizontally, laterally, not throwing it up or down. Just throw it straight, flat out in front of you. As gravity acts on that ball, it pulls it down to the ground, right? If you throw it slow, the ball hits the ground pretty close to where you are. If you throw it faster, gravity will pull it down, but it's going faster sideways, so it goes a little bit further before it hits the ground. Now, what Isaac Newton thought was, what if we kept going with this experiment? What if we could throw the ball exceptionally fast, like so fast that as the ball was falling to the earth due to gravity, it was going so far that the earth started to curve underneath the ball. Well, what if we kept going with this experiment? We throw it even faster. Well, you might see what we're getting at. And that's what Isaac Newton thought through as well. If you could somehow throw the ball at such a fast speed that as it falls down, the earth curves underneath it at an exactly equal rate, then that ball will continue to fall, but it will never actually hit the ground. There is a speed at which an object's falling path will match the planet's curvature, and the object falls around the planet in an orbit. So an orbit is really just free falling, but you have so much lateral speed or sideways speed that you go around before you can fall down. And in order for this to happen on Earth, if you ignore like air resistance and of course any kind of elevation changes on the Earth's surface, if you threw a ball at a speed of 5 miles per second, then you would be able to achieve this orbital speed. 5 miles per second, that's pretty fast. So an orbit is really just gravity acting on something, but that something is moving very fast to the side. And so this brings us to the story of Isaac Newton and the apple tree. Now this is just a legend. I don't think that most people think it actually happened this way, but it's helpful. It's a nice story, so I'll tell it anyway. The story goes that Isaac Newton was sitting under an apple tree one day, just thinking about gravity and how orbits worked. And an apple falls from a tree that he's sitting under and hits him on the head. And that prompts a new idea in Isaac Newton. He looks up into the sky and sees the moon, and he thinks to himself, what if the same force that pulls the apple down to the ground also keeps the moon from flying away as it moves around the earth? So he made a connection between the apple falling and the moon sticking around, and he said that it's the same force that's pulling them both down. Gravity pulls the apple down, gravity also pulls the moon around the earth. Now, we kind of take this for granted these days because, of course, gravity pulls the moon around the earth. But in Isaac Newton's time, things that happened on the earth were not connected to the things that happened in the sky. The sky was a very, different and maybe a little bit more magical place where things are unexplained a lot of the time. So Isaac Newton was making connections between things that happened on the earth and things that happened in the sky. And this idea is referred to as universal gravitation. Universal meaning that gravity is not just an earth thing, it's something that happens everywhere in the universe. And gravity exists between any two objects, according to Isaac Newton. So that would mean that not only does gravity act between the earth and the moon, as shown here, gravity pulls on the earth and the gravity pulls on the moon. They both get pulled together with the same amount of force. But gravity also acts between the sun and the earth, keeping the earth in orbit around the sun. Gravity acts between you and the ground, pulling you two together. Gravity also acts between student and student, which might explain the attraction that you have to someone near you. But in all of these cases, gravity is acting between the two objects. But you might notice it doesn't seem like this would be true because we don't feel gravitational attractions to objects around us. And the reason for this, Isaac Newton would explain, is that gravity is actually a pretty weak force. you would need one of the objects at least to be very, very massive to feel the effects of gravity. So we feel the effects of gravity on Earth because Earth is extremely massive. Same thing with objects in space. One of them or both of them are massive, and so gravity can have an effect. So that's the idea of universal gravitation from Isaac Newton, his theory of gravity. But that's all I've got for you in this video. Remember, this day could be your last, so live on purpose.